Hello students, today we will start with our chapter Bills of Exchange. Now, first of all, it might be coming in your mind that we have already heard about the word bill, but what is Bill of Exchange? Nothing new we are going to study here. It is a technical jargon, it is a technical term in accountancy that we use for bills. Now, when is a bill of exchange drawn? A bill of exchange is drawn when goods are sold on credit basis. Now, why there is a need to draw a bill when goods are sold on credit basis? Reason is as per verifiable concept of accounting. Whenever a business transaction is taking place in a business, then it must be recorded in the books of account supported by evidence. So this bills of exchange is an evidence that yes, a business transaction, that is sale of goods on credit, has taken place. So in layman language, it is very easy to understand that this bill is an evidence that goods are being sold by the seller to the buyer on credit basis. Now, how does this bill looks like? This is the specimen of the bill. On the very right, you will write the place, that means the address of the drawer, the date of drawing bill, amount of bill in numbers, it should be duly stamped, and the statement to be written is 1 month after the date. Pay to Mr. This drawer is seller. We have seen in traditional business also, whenever we go to buy something, even if we are making payment on cash basis, we have seen the seller drawing a bill. That bill is cash memo. We have already done this topic in our previous chapter, source of documents. Here, this bill of exchange is an evidence that the transaction has taken place on credit. This bills of exchange has to be drawn by the seller. The amount here will be written in words. It is an unconditional order by seller to the buyer to make payment, and buyer here will be known as drawee. Drawee is the person who is accepting this bill. Unconditional, why? Without any condition, the drawer is asking, ordering the drawee to make payment. Now we will study the definition of bills of exchange as per Negotiable Instrument Act 1881. Now, what is a bills of exchange as per Section 5 of Negotiable Instrument Act 1881? A bill of exchange is an instrument in writing. A bills of exchange is always in writing. It contains an unconditional order signed by the maker. Maker is seller, directing a certain person. Who is that certain person who is taking this credit? That is buyer, to pay a certain sum of money only to or to the order of a certain person or to the bearer. Here it is very important to understand the meaning of bearer. Bearer is the person who is holding this instrument at the time of its maturity. Now, what are the features of bills of exchange? It is an unconditional order. It is signed and drawn by the maker, and maker is drawer, seller. It is an unconditional order that is drawn to pay a certain amount. Amount is certain, it is specified, it is mentioned in bills of exchange. Again, the point is being repeated at specify amount of consideration and date by which the amount should be paid. Coming to the parties involved in bills of exchange, there are three parties involved. First party is drawer. We are again repeating the same thing. Drawer is the person who draws, writes, or makes a bills of exchange. He is the person who is granting credit. That means he is the seller. Who will grant credit? Seller will grant credit. Drawee. Drawee is the person on whom the bill of exchange is drawn, and he has to accept this bill of exchange. And who is drawee? He is the person to whom credit has been given. And to whom credit is given? It is given to buyer. Now payee, it is very important to understand here who is payee. Payee is the person who is the bearer of instrument. So whosoever will hold this instrument at the time of due date is the person who will actually receive the amount. Payee is the person named in the bills of exchange to whom the payment is to be made. It is the person to whom the payment has to be made. It could be a drawer, or it can be someone else to whom the drawer has transferred this bill. Negotiable means transfer, transferability. A document which is transferable in nature means the one which can be negotiated, transferred to someone else on certain negotiations. There are two types of bills. One is trade bill. When the goods are being actually traded, then trade bill is being issued. It is being prepared. Accommodation bill is a bill which is drawn and accepted for mutual help. This we will discuss later when we will study how a bill of exchange can also act as a source of finance, which is there when the bill gets discounted with the bank, also known as the process of factoring. There, this bill is being drawn on mutual consent between two friends or two known people, which is being drawn with intent of helping them. The intent is not to have some trade relation. It is just out of mutual help that this bill is being drawn. Coming to promissory note. This is the specimen of a promissory note. On right hand side, we'll write place, date of drawing, promissory note. Left hand side, amount in number. Always a promissory note has to be duly stamped. Statement is 1 month after the date we promise. We promise. Here there is an unconditional promise to make payment to the seller. And who is making this promise? This promise is made by the drawer. And here the drawer is buyer. Bills of exchange is an unconditional order. It is an unconditional order by a seller to a buyer that the payment has to be made on a certain date for a specified amount. But here, promissory note is drawn by the buyer himself, and buyer is promising. There is an unconditional promise that buyer will make payment to the seller on a specified date for a specified sum of money. I hope the difference between bills of exchange and promissory note is clear. Coming to definition of promissory note, it has been stated under section 4 of Negotiable Instruments Act 1881. A promissory note is an instrument in writing other than a bank note or a currency note, because you can see it is an unconditional written promise It is drawn and signed by the promisor. Promisor is buyer. It specifies the name of payee to whom the payment has to be made. Date is specified, even the amount payable is specified. Parties to a promissory note are maker. Maker is a person who makes the promise. He is the drawer who draws the bill. He is the person who is actually availing credit. So, in simple terms, we can say a maker is buyer in case of a promissory note. Payee is the person who will receive payment. He is the person who has granted credit. So that means here we can say the seller who is giving grant of credit is payee. This is a very important topic, date of maturity. It could be asked as a one marker in paper. First point, date of maturity is the date when the payment will be made by the buyer to the seller. First point, very important, days of grace are not allowed when the bill is payable on demand or at sight. On demand means whenever the buyer is being asked by the seller to make payment, the buyer has to make payment. So here no grace period will be allowed. Otherwise, in bills of exchange, there is trading practice to give grace period of 3 days. But if the bill has been drawn or is payable on demand or at sight, then in that case, no grace period will be given. Next point is also very important. When the period of bill is stated in days, that means instead of months, it has been stated that the payment will be made after a certain number of days. Then in that case, the calculation of maturity date be in days will include the date of payment. Payment date will be included, but the date on which the transaction has taken place, that means the date on which the sale or purchase has been done, that date will be excluded. However, 3 days of grace are added. Now, when the bill has to be paid in months, that means the period for which the credit has been given is in months. Now, the calculation of maturity date will be in terms of calendar months, ignoring the number of days, because there are months in which we are having even 28 or 29 days, like February, or even there are months where we are having 30 days. So days, number of days doesn't matter. It is all about, complete calendar month that we have to consider. In this case also we have to give grace period of 3 days. Now, if the maturity date falls on a public holiday, that means the day on which the payment is due for, collection, that day is a public holiday, then what will happen? Then maturity date will be shifted one day prior. So the maturity date in that case will be preceding business day. I hope you all are clear that how the due date of collecting money has to be calculated. Now we'll solve numericals for better understanding of what we have done. Calculate the due date of the bills in the following cases. What if the date is 1st December and a tenure of 60 days is given? In case of days as discussed, date of transaction will be excluded. We all know in December we have 31 days, but we have to exclude 1st December. So we are left with how many days? 30 days. In January, again we will take 30 days. Why? Because The tenure is 60 days. So till this date, our tenure is completed. Now we have to give 3 days grace. So grace period is 31st January, 1st February. However, it is also mentioned that it should include the date of payment. So on the day the payment has been made due, it has to be included. So it will be 2nd February. That means the last day of grace will be the date of receiving payment. Coming to our next case, date is 30th April, tenure is 2 months. So first month will start from 30th April itself. In case of days, we have to exclude date of transaction. But in months, we shouldn't exclude it. We have to include it. So here the date, starting date is 30th April. It will end on 29th of May. Now second month will start from 30th May and will end on 29th June. After 29th June, now we have to give 3 days grace, which will be 30th June, 1st July and 2nd July. So the payment will be made on 3rd of July 2019. I hope both the cases are clear. Coming to our next part, third part. Now the date is 28th January and we are given tenure of 1 month. So in a month, if we calculate a month, it will start from 28th of January and it will get over on 27th. Here we have to take care that this year, if it is a leap year, we'll get one more year here. Here it is not a leap year, so we have only got last date as 28. But if it is a leap year, you will also get a day 29th February. So as it is not a leap year, so grace days will be added 28th February, 1st March, 2nd March. So payment will be made on 3rd March 2019. Next part, date of transaction is 23rd November 2018. Tenure is 2 months. So we'll start from the date of transaction, 23rd November to 22nd December. Second month will start from 23rd December. It will end on 22nd January. Now, if we will add grace days, we will see 23rd, 24, 25 are grace days. So payment otherwise was to be collected on 26th January, but we all know 26th January is a public holiday. So in that case, the maturity date of bill shall be the preceding business day. The preceding business day is 25th January. So the payment will be collected on 25th of January. So our due date is 25th January 2019. Coming to our last part. Now the date of transaction is 29th May 18. Tenure is 4 months. First month will start from the date of transaction 29th May to 28th June. Second month 29th June to 28th July. Third month 29th July to 28th August. Fourth month 29th August to 28th September. Now 3 days grace will be added, 29, 31. 1st October. So payment was made due on 2nd October. But again 2nd October is a public holiday. So the payment will be received 1 day prior. So date of collection of payment is 1st October 2018. I hope now you people know how to crack due dates, because even if it will come in your full-fledged question, then also it will carry marks. Due date carry marks, so be very cautious while calculation of due dates. Starting with the cases of accounting of a bill of exchange. Bill of exchange have different cases that needs to be counted only in the books of holder. Holder here means seller. So whatever changes are coming in accounting of bill of exchange, it will only come in the books of seller. So it is very easy to understand entries in the books of buyer, because in all the four cases, entries in the books of buyer, that is drawee, will remain same. There are four cases where we will learn accounting treatment of bills of exchange. First case is very easy case. When the bill is retained till maturity, the seller is himself keeping that bill till maturity. Second case is when this bill is discounted with bank. It is a source of finance. Bill of exchange can also act as a source of short-term finance, where a loyal customer can keep this bill of exchange with his or her bank and take money, that means borrow money from the bank before maturity date. This bill can also be endorsed in favor of creditors. Endorsed means transferred. Bill can also be sent for collection. We'll discuss all these cases in detail when we will deal with them in the books of accounts. Starting with our first case, where the bill is kept till maturity. Bill kept till maturity means here the seller is keeping the bill with himself and will ask the buyer for payment at due date. Now, in this case, we are having a seller A who sold goods to B on credit for rupees 10,000. A drew a bill on B for 3 months. Now, the tenure of bill is 3 months, which was accepted by B. The bill was kept by A till maturity. Till maturity. So, this is our case 1, where the bill is kept till maturity. This bill is met on maturity. Due date पर payment मिल गई. So we have to pass journal entries in the books of both the parties. Parties are A and B. A is seller, B is buyer. So first entry for sale in the books of A will be, as it is a credit sale, so B will become debtor. So debtor is an asset, so B's account will be debited, and sales is revenue. So revenue will be credited. Entry will be B debit to sales account. At the same time, entry in the books of B will be for purchasing goods, which is purchases account debit. Why purchases are debited? Because it is an expense and expenses are always debited. And why A's account is credited in the books of B? Because for B, A is a liability. Now, what when they both mutually negotiate to draw a bill of exchange? In that case, when bill is drawn by A, what entry A will pass in his book? It is bill receivable. A bill on which amount is yet to be received, receivable. So it is an asset, so bill receivable account will be debited. We are converting our debtor into bill receivable. So we will close the books of B, so B will be credited. Entry will be bill receivable account debit to B. Similarly, whenever a bill is drawn, it should always be accepted by the drawee. So when drawee will accept this bill, again, the drawee is converting his creditors into bills payable. So we are closing A's account and we are converting this creditor into bills payable, which is a liability. So liabilities are credited. Entry will be A debit to bills payable account. On due date, when B will make payment, what entry B will pass in his book? Obviously, he will get his bills payable and he will make payment either in cash or through bank. So it could be to cash account or it could also be to bank account. Now, on maturity date, when A will receive payment, A will either credit cash account or bank account, whatever be the mode of payment made, to bill receivable. Bill receivable is going out. It is going to whom? It is going to B. I hope this case is clear to all of you. Moving to our next case, which is very important as there is calculation involved for discounting charges. Bill discounted with bank. When is a bill discounted with bank? When seller is in need of fund, he or she will approach his or her bank and will, borrow money from bank, keeping their bill with the bank. Now, bank will not give you the full amount because you're asking for money. You are borrowing money for a security kept by you whose tenure is after a certain period of time. So for this, bank will take some amount as charges, and those charges are known as discounting charges. Here A sold goods to B. So first entry is again repeating. B debit to sales account. B is debtor to whom goods are being sold on credit. Sales is revenue, so it is credited. In the books of B, purchases are expenses, so purchases account debit to A because goods are being purchased from A, so A is our creditor. Now A drew a bill on B for 3 months. When the bill will be drawn, entry in the books of seller will be bill receivable account debit because on this sale amount is yet to be received, receivable. So this is an asset. And B's account will be closed, so B will be credited. Similarly, when B will accept this bill, he will close the books of A and will convert this creditor into another liability, that is bills payable. So the entry will be A debit to bills payable account. Now entries in the books of B will not change in any of the case. All 4 cases will have same journal entries. But as discussed prior, that entries will only change in the books of holder. Holder is A, who is actually holding the bill. Now what A did, he went to bank and got this bill discounted. So bank account debit. As he is not getting the full amount, certain amount is being kept by bank as charges. So that is an expense for A. So discounting charges account debit. As the bill is going out, what goes out is credited to bill receivable. Amount of bill was 10,000. Rate of discount is 12%. But it is written per annum. This rate is for the whole year. So we have to consider time also. So we have drawn this bill for 3 months. So amount for 3 months will only be subtracted as discounting charges, which is 300. That means you gave a bill of 10,000 and how much bank is giving you back? 9,700. I hope it is clear. Coming to our next case, when the bill is endorsed to creditor. It is not that A will only be a creditor to B. As we have trading relationship, to one party we can be a buyer, but at the same time for another party we could be a buyer. So here A is also having a creditor whose name is C. Let us read the question. A sold goods to B. Again, entries are repeating. For sale, what entries will pass for sale in the books of A? It will be B debit to sales account. And what entry we will pass in the books of B? It will be purchases account debit to A. Now again the bill has been drawn, which is accepted by B. So entry in the books of A will be bill receivable to B, and entry in the book of B will be A debit to bills payable. Now this bill was endorsed by A to C. Endorsed means transferred. A, we are assuming, let's say A has to give certain amount to C. Instead of giving amount, he said, I'll get the amount from this particular person B after a certain period of time. So this is the proof. Then C will say, okay, I'll take that money from B directly. You give me that bill. So here, debit the receiver. Who is getting that bill now? C is getting, and your bill receivable is moving out. So there is change in entry in the books of A. Now, will A pass the entry for maturity of bill? No, because A is not getting payments now. His cash balance is not going to increase. So he will only pass entry when the bill will be endorsed by him to C. However, we can see in the books of B, entries are same at the time of purchase of goods, at the time of accepting bill, and on maturity date when the bill was actually paid. Entry same, bills payable account debit to cash. We will also prepare books of C if it is being asked in the question. Here A is endorser. Who is an endorser? The person who is endorsing the bill. So in this case, A is endorser. And who is the endorsee? Endorsee will be B. Sorry, endorsee will be C. C is the person to whom this bill has been transferred. So this bill has been given to C. So what entry C will pass in his book? He will pass entry first for receiving bill from A, which will be bill receivable account debit to A. And next entry, when he will get payment on due date, it will be cash account debit to bill receivable, because when he will get the payment, he will exchange this bill, and for getting cash he will give this bill to B. Now the last case is bill sent for collection. Being a businessman, A is not in a position to go and ask every drawee to make payment. He cannot go and approach each and every buyer. This way he won't be in a position to do his business. So what he will do, he will collect all the bills and hand it over to bank, who will act as an agent and will collect payment on behalf of A. So here all the bills are being sent for collection to bank. For this, bank charges certain commission, which is not a part of this accounting treatment right now. Again, when the goods are being sold by A to B, entry for sale is same, entry for purchase is same. Also, entry for drawing bill and accepting bill is same. But now in the books of holder, that is A, when this bill is sent to bank for collection, what entry will be passed? We will open a new account known as bill sent for collection account debit to bill receivable, because now bill is going out. What goes out is credited. Amount is 10,000 each, both in debit and in credit side. Now when this bill will be met on maturity, your bank balance, being the seller, bank balance will automatically rise and you will close this bill sent for collection account. However, entry in the books of B will remain same as it was there in first case when bill was kept till maturity. Entry will be bills payable account debit to cash account, because